Hey everybody, welcome to the Single Tracks Podcast. My name is Jeff, and today my guest is Calvin Jones. Calvin is the Director of Education at Park Tool Company, a position he's held for more than 15 years. He's the author of the Big Blue Book of Bicycle Repair, and his repair videos on YouTube have been viewed by millions. Thanks for joining us, Calvin.
Well, thanks for having us here.
Yeah, tell us a bit about your background. How'd you learn to work on bikes?
How do someone learn anything? Jumping in and doing stuff right away is important. But bike repair and bike stuff. You go through life, and the stream cuts many channels, and you look back on it. It seems it's obvious I was going to end up here, but.
Yeah.
At a young age, my dad was a Snap-on tool dealer, which was fun. Which is to me and my brother was basically a big toy truck to us because all these shiny steel, ting 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 and sharp stuff, and then hey, you kids, get out of there! What are you kids doing? And, it was fun. So he was a car mechanic and a tool salesman. So in the garage, of course. His own tools we got to play with and nuts and bolts. So that was actually I didn't know it till later, but a big start as a young kid, just playing with stuff, just not fixing anything, but just taking stuff apart. That's a big deal. But then in high school, started to junior high, riding 10 speeds. And my friend in high school said, get one of these racing bikes. They're fun. And okay, I'll do that. So then it was fun. And so then, God, what was my first 1972 in Colorado would be first job in a bike shop. And, then did go to college, but always, always worked in shops and thought, that was fun. I'm going to go get a degree in economics. I'm going to go teach. That didn't work out so good because it was just too much fun in bike shops. So, and I don't know, you just go through life, you just take opportunities, and worked with the U.S. national team, worked the Olympics, taught at Barnett's, started writing stuff and articles, and I don't know, you end up here, you end up on YouTube, which is
right.
Scary.
Yeah. Well, that's interesting because you said like how does anybody learn, and you immediately answered like by doing, but everybody learns in different ways, I guess, right? Like some people can get it from books, and some people can watch somebody do something.
Right. So, you get a start from a book, or you get an idea on how to do something. So the doing is a very, very important thing. So, and then also teaching is still doing in a way. And that's what we like about the Park Tool School, which is a program we have it's a curriculum for shops. And it's good for people to take. It really ties your consumers to the shop in a personal way. People have hopefully fond memories of their teachers, right? And that's what we want shops to be, is that person. But as the shop doing it, you're going to learn about that product. You get up in front of people, right? And you start talking about this brake or this frame or this fork or how to adjust a gear or how to put a chain on. You better know your product. When you're on stage, you're very naked in that if you're just talking BS and, well, you kind of do it this way. You kind of eyeball it here. See, it looks good to me. So then you go ahead and do that.
Yeah.
That's not going to cut it. The audience is going to know this person doesn't know.
Right.
But if you do know your stuff and you get up there, it really helps you as a mechanic. And when I was going backwards in my life as a mechanic at the Olympic Training Center, having to explain things, to read it. I'm a different person, I think, or no, you're not. You're always the same person, but I hope I have a different attitude.
Yeah.
Very, very young. My attitude was, I can fix this. I'm better than you are. You just give me the bike and go away, and I'll give it to you perfect. Well, that's not good. That's not good. It's you have the person there. You can explain what you've done. They have faith in what you've done. They understand. That's why this was done. Oh, the bike is working so well. Now I know, and it makes you a better person. Makes the bike a better bike. All right. Yeah. So it's not just this ideal bike. It's the ideal bike for them personally. So that the ability to explain, and then also managing mechanics. I would manage mechanics at the mountain bike World Championships for the U.S. team. We would have huge numbers of riders. They would house everyone together. There'd be 60 plus riders. And when we had masters, which was an interesting time period with the masters at, say, a mountain bike World Championship, we'd have 80 riders and a staff of 4 or 5 or 6 mechanics, and then, managing them, it's the same type of thing. You can't just say this is perfect. We all have to work together as a team and explain what we've done. And this is the system we want to use to check gears. This is how we're going to look at brakes. So the ability to explain stuff, I think, it's still a good feature for a mechanic.
Yeah. When you're talking about, being on stage or like presenting to a group of mechanics and making sure you know what you're talking about, I wonder, how is that different on YouTube? Like, I would imagine anything you do on YouTube, you're going to get 100 comments, and some of them are going to be not nice. And there's going to be somebody who points out something that, like, yeah, you didn't do right, or you could have done better. Like, do you see a lot of that feedback on YouTube? Like, have you learned?
You'll see some pages. I know some manufacturers, they have some nice YouTubes out, and you go down, comments turned off. Okay. I totally appreciate that. We view the comments and we look at the comments, and, if you're not cursing at us, we don't delete. That's an important thing.
Yeah.
YouTube is hard. It's a really hard thing. And sometimes I feel like I'm the silent screen actor, right? I did all these live performances. I'm in front of students and teachers. I'll teach in front of audiences, The difference is the feedback. You don't get the feedback. So you're out there in this audience, and there's 50 people out there, and I'm in front talking about something, and you're just staring at the ceiling. What's going on? Why am I not reaching you?
Are you guys following me? Yeah.
Yes. And then the questions, the instantaneous questions, and the type of questions that you get from a live audience, very, very important. So what I'm saying is YouTube is like, now we have the talkies, right? So these are the talkies. And the actors that were the silent stars, all of a sudden, they sound like this in the talking film, and nobody wants that.
Right.
So it's a different thing, but we work really hard on our videos here. So we have several different types of videos at Park Tool, and people get them mixed up sometimes. We have what's called Tech Tuesday, where we try and make a point, but we try and have fun. All right, we're not trying to take it real seriously. We have a repair help. Okay, maybe we don't smile in the repair help. We're going to bleed a brake, right? Yeah. We're not going to make stupid jokes and have funny little skits and stuff. But at Tech Tuesday, we do. We're trying to make a point about a certain aspect of a gear adjustment or teaching one thing, and then, we'll get the comments and a recent one, but just somebody's upset. What a waste of time telling me how to use a screwdriver. Well, to this person, if they're listening to this podcast, clearly, I think you've never tried to teach anyone, right? You've never tried to teach anyone, how to use a screwdriver. There is a procedure that's important there, and you are going to pick it up if you keep working, but it's very much a basic, right? So in your baseball, you're going to pick up the grounders. You're going to do those basics.
Yeah.
To jump around some, one thing I'm doing now that's been a lot of fun is working with the NICA teams. I know this is single track, right? We need to keep on the mountain bike team here. So the young single trackers out there, that's a whole different topic, the whole NICA thing. the purpose of NICA is to make young riders fall in love with the sport.
Mm-hmm.
It is not to produce an Olympic champion, although Christopher Blevin and Kate Courtney, a lot of those people came out at NICA, which we're very proud of. But it's just to make riders fall in love. And one thing I'm doing on our team, we have a team of 100, a local team, is I'm training equipment managers. They're mechanics. We had this year 8 people I'm trying to train, and they're 14, 15, 16, 17 years old to be managers. And the difference here is this: working on someone else's bike versus your own bike. That's number one, a big responsibility and a big change.
Yeah.
So I do use that to come up with ideas, showing these kids how to use a screwdriver. And it's interesting to watch this new cell phone. That's the first thing they want to do. We're going to do this. They want to get out their cell phone. So I want to take the cell phones and throw them, but I need to be nice. I'm on school grounds, so I can't be mean. But how to use a screwdriver? And
yeah. I mean, I assume I know how, but you're right. Like nobody ever taught me, and I never. So I'm probably doing it wrong.
And you will pick it up. You do it enough. You are going to pick it up. But it's still an important thing, because I also expect these kids, these service managers, to also be teachers to the team. Right? We cannot fix 100 bikes. We can't be their bike shop. But when we're doing a limit screw, I want them to hold that screwdriver in line with the axis of the thread. And then so it's monkey see, monkey do, right? We're the big monkeys. The managers have been little monkeys, the riders. Right? This is not disparaging of the athletes, but they see us doing good habits. They will do good habits.
Yeah.
Right? So that it's a shortcut, but they also need to be a teacher to when, the basic thing. This is how a wheel is in tight, right? So here's some, I guess 2 things. Soapboxes are allowed here, right? And then airing some dirty laundry. On a race one year, a kid's wheel fell out of his bike.
Oh no!
How does that happen? Vibration and this and no, it's not, kids. It was not put in correctly.
Right.
It was not put in correctly. We didn't teach. With so many riders, it's hard to teach them. Right? You have videos on it and stuff, but no, the wheel was simply not. We can talk about Mars coming around Jupiter. We can talk about all sorts of COVID excuses. It simply wasn't tight. That's the likely cause, and it was put in wrong. But back to tool use a second. So here's a soapbox. If soapboxes are allowed here,
sure.
I really encourage the arts and kids working with their hands, and the arts is just an excuse to do that. There's mechanics I'm training. I don't think they've gotten enough time with hand use in school. In high school, it is that shop class. You're not seeing the shop classes enough. But even then, it's too late when they are 5, 6, 7, 8 years old. I want that art project pushing stuff, bending stuff, forming stuff as they get older. 9, 10, 11, introduce metals and steels. You'll see education, a big push is on STEM. And I'm sure your listeners said, STEM is a big deal. It's not connecting your steering column to your bars. It's science, technology, engineering, and math. And boy, can it be boring. There's some kids that it really hits. What they're leaving out is so important.
Art.
Put the A back into STEM for STEAM.
Right.
What is the A? That's just your test. What's the A for?
Yes, art.
Art. Yes, absolutely. Again, knowing your material. An artist should know their medium. Violin player, if you want that horrible chord, if that's what you're after, great. You know it. And if you're marble, you're chiseling marble, there's certain things you can do and not do, or clay or metal or steel. When we start our training, which God is coming up already, I like to start after the snow, after spring break. For the new mechanics that I'm training at school, we go to the school cafeteria because it's just too cold to go outside.
Yeah.
We don't even see a bike for the first 3 or 4 sessions.
Oh, wow.
It's all about thread and torque, and they touch things, and they'll tap. We tap a hole, we put a bolt in it, and we strip it. That feeling, that tactile feeling of the metal giving and flexing. What is that all about? What are the very first roles? I remember my job in one bike shop, a young high school kid. My first day on the job assembling bikes. Oh, I know this stuff. I'm doing this and this and this. I put a wrench on a bolt, tightened that cable up, and broke the head of that bolt right off. Oh. It must have been a cheap bolt. Right? Everyone wants to say that. It must have been a cheap bolt, right?
Yeah.
A Suntour VX derailleur. I even know the model after all these years. Mistakes are important. So you really have to pay attention to those and take something from it. If you're looking to blame something else, and I blame Suntour, of course, well, it was me. And it might have been a cheap bolt, but actually I was still running the wrench that tightened it. So that learning to tighten, now this leads into another soapbox, of course, torque. Torque is very an important thing, and it's related to, but not the same thing as a torque wrench.
Right.
And you need to have an understanding of one before you start using the other. And I'm afraid there's a real emphasis on consumers. I can understand it, but for shops, they start with the torque wrench and assume then that people know torque. Mm-hmm. Torque wrench is not a magic wand. People want to take the wrench and you touch the bike. Oh, okay, here I touched your stem and the torque wrench magically sets it. But there's so much going on with threads. It's a very fun subject. It's a lot going on there, but you need to get things tight enough, but not too tight.
Yeah. Do you use a torque wrench? I mean, do you check torque values, or at this point, can you do it by feel?
I use a torque wrench, and sometimes I even look at the scale.
Okay.
So, but it doesn't replace. Now, can you always use a torque wrench? No. There's certain bolts you simply can't get to if you have no training. All right. Does Julia Childs always use a measuring cup?
Probably not.
It produces a delicious dinner. Now, oh boy, are rabbit holes allowed here?
Yeah, we're finding them.
Okay, so torque wrench is a measure of the resistance of the bolt turning. Mm-hmm. It's correlated, but it's not the same thing as the stress it's providing to the joint.
Okay.
That's the important thing. So yes, I'll often use a torque wrench, but first I also want an understanding of what it is doing.
Right.
So there's two basic types of joints: a soft joint and a hard joint. Hard joint would be more like a rotor bolt or a pedal. It's going up to a hard substrate, and it's just tightening and pulling that metal and stressing it.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
When a mechanic torques something down, they're creating stress and stretch in a joint. The stress that you create, let's take a pedal. What do you use Strava? Are you one of those power meter guys?
I do, yes.
Okay.
No, I don't use power meters. I use Strava, though.
Okay. So let's take you strong riders out there. What's a really good wattage? You're up out of the saddle. What are you putting on that crank?
Yeah, a lot.
Several. A lot.
I don't know, 400, 500 watts? I don't know.
Let's go 500.
Yeah.
If you put less stress in the bolt than that rider is putting on the pedals, in other words, if you gently tighten that pedal down, but the load in that stress is less than the load the rider's putting on it, that thread is going to loosen. You have to be stronger. So what is a mechanic? What you're doing is you're going on every ride with that rider, right? So you fix a bike. This rider's going on a ride. She's out there hammering. And if that pedal that you tightened is less than the stress that she's putting on that pedal, it's going to back out, and then it's going to come out eventually. And you can say, oh, the vibration, you must have hit a bumpy road, or, oh, you're so strong. That normally doesn't happen. No, your stress always to be more. So that's basic. Now, that's a hard joint.
It's a good way to look at it. Yeah. I mean, I never thought of it that way.
Right. That's right. So you're going, so you worked on 100 riders' bikes. You're going on 100 rides a day. Now, what's a soft joint? Soft joints are the trickiest one. A handlebar stem bolt is with handlebar clamp. That's a good one. The typical 4-bolt. Normally, you want to tighten things as tight as the bolt can take it without breaking.
Right.
The stress of the bolt should be the worst thing it sees if it can handle that. Right. It's the Nietzsche school of mechanics. If it didn't kill me, I can take it. Bring it on. Soft joint can't do that. The bolt, the little M5 bolt in the thread that you're tightening down the stem can take, oh gosh, it'll do 120 inch-pounds. Oh man, it can be tight. You just ripped your bars in half if you go to the maximum of what that bolt can take. So in soft joints, it's almost the minimum. Okay, a seat post bolt's another good example. A seat post, a manufacturer will put on a collar 5 Newton meter. Well, no torque on a bike can actually be 5 Newton meter. There's always a window, right? And Shimano's good about that. They put a range of what they want. So here's the problem I have with the lasering. They put a 5 Newton meter on the collar and they drop it down on the bike. Well, the collar manufacturer didn't make the frame.
Right.
They don't know what the tolerances of the frame are. They don't even know the frame material. And then the seat post company. So if a company made the seat post, the collar, and the frame, they have a legitimate right to put on a torque. So it's torques are a good suggestion sometimes, and the seat post is a good example. On a seat post, you don't really want the maximum. You want the minimum.
Right. Especially with a dropper post, because you can pinch it.
Yes.
It's not going to go up or down.
Are you reading my script? I just might as well hang up because you've got this covered.
Lucky guess.
If that's right. So if there's a good example, and it actually comes from the Consumer Product Safety Commission, which sometimes they do have good ideas. If the saddle can't twist left to right, it's not going down. So a 4.5 Newtons locks that post up and it doesn't wiggle left to right. It's not going to creep down as you ride. Okay. And then you're good to go.
Yeah.
But if it took 6 Newton meters to do that, then your bike needs 6. And just like you said, the droppers nowadays, if you squeeze too much, it's dropping. It ain't coming out.
Right.
So yeah, that can be a problem. And again, the carbon material, it's plastic, right? Let's just call it plastic, because you're clamping on the resin, right? So it's aluminum against resin, and then it's a different coefficient of friction. So anyway, enough of that.
Well, so in your videos and obviously in your book as well, we see you working on a variety of different types of bikes. What type of riding do you like to do? Is there certain style or certain type of bike you ride, or do you ride them all?
Yes, several. The best ride is the last ride you did. Yeah. Right. So okay. Sadly, what's you going to ask me on my last ride?
Yeah. What was your last ride?
Okay. Well, my last ride. Okay. So I don't want anyone, the audience, to tell me. It was in the basement on the trainer.
Oh, no.
Oh, my God. I know.
It's the worst kind of ride.
See what kind of old-fashioned guy? You're not one of those e-sport people, are you?
No. But that's the future, I've heard.
Well, but virtual ride. So, and I actually did. I bought a nice one. I borrowed one from our product manager here, and they're really slick. So why? The nice trainers feel smooth. It does. It's a good feel, and it is worth spending it. The wind trainers are well, I shouldn't say that. They get you moving your muscles.
Yeah.
So for a while I was on Zwift, right? And I got the flat bars. This was last year. I was on Zwift, And I was passed a lot. Well, you know what? That's just like real life. I know what it's like to get passed a lot. So
Yeah, pretty accurate.
yeah, why do I need this? I was passed in London. I was passed on that island. They passed me in France, in New York, Central Park. So forget that nonsense. So now what I do is I watch, I'll stream like a sad Korean movie and just watch an epic and just pedal for an hour and call it good. Or better yet, cyclocross racing when it's streaming, because when they hit the sand, that's your interval. You got to go to help. You got to help them go through, get through, right? Puck Peterson, you got to help her get through the sand by going really hard, and then you can back off. So getting out on the fat bike is good. The real difference is, you're still just working your height. That's not true. It's important as a rider to have the saddle kick you in the butt. That sounds stupid. No. If you're a Zwift rider all the time, right, that road is too smooth. And if you don't ever get out and have that saddle pound you, you're not developing muscles where you need them. And the smooth, that's the fun part about fat biking, right? I've got 4.5 tires. They're, barely in the air there at all. And if it's nice trail, it's so smooth. It is like skiing. It's very much a feel of, swishy, and it's nice, but not now. It's this rugged, snowmobiled, rough snow, and it pounds you. And you have fun going 6 miles an hour. Well, that's on a good day.
Yeah.
So I guess the fat tire riding. What's my favorite ride? It's still the fat tire riding. With the team, we have some trails that we built locally. That's good fun. I got myself a new mountain bike, that's always good fun.
Yeah. Well, speaking of mountain bikes, do mountain bikes require more repair and maintenance than other types of bikes, or can you even make that comparison?
Oh yeah, you can. So my way of thinking, for me, my heart is in the road riding. That's where I grew up. I love the strategy. It's interesting. The work is boring. The racing I find exciting. So we take that model and we flip it on its head. Mountain bike racing, actually, it's not that interesting to watch. It's not that. There's the strategy, is someone's going to crush you. You're going to crush someone.
Yeah, it's very
not that interesting.
Yeah.
The technical aspect, much more fun. I'd much rather work a mountain bike race. First, you stay put in one place, and you can really dive into the bike because you're not packing up every night and moving. Road racing, you wash the bike, you put a tire on, done. That's, but mountain biking, brake pads, rotors, suspension. There's a lot more going on with the mountain bike.
Yeah. I mean, is part of it the environment too? I mean, is dirt and all that kind of stuff mean that you're going to have to do more maintenance more often?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. You should be doing more maintenance. Oh yeah. And the purpose of a mechanic, and this is the difference between, your own bike, you're your own mechanic. You're going to have to get your body to fit what you got, right? So ideally, we all own 8 different stem lengths and angles, right? So we can all dial in that exact fit. But sometimes you have to just put up with it. But we do want the bike, the bite point, right? You want that just right. The gear selection, you want that just right. The saddle, fore and aft, all that, bar width, handlebar angle, right? So sometimes there's things that we can play with on a bike and it doesn't cost us any money. Saddle tilt, right? Saddle fore and aft, saddle height over the cranks. Okay, well then, your shoe, the shoes are an interesting aspect. Shoes should be considered part of your drivetrain, not part of your personal clothing. So when I work a race with the staff, my attitude, those are our shoes. You give us, I want all the riders to bring us your shoes to look at the cleat. Yeah. Well, I'm a downhiller. I just wear these I still want to see, are your laces decent? Are they completely trashed? Do you have a second pair? That's drivetrain.
Yeah.
I don't want to see your socks. That's your problem.
Draw the line there. That's good.
Draw the line right there. But the drivetrain begins at the shoe, right? Then there's the pedal and the crank and so on and so on. But yeah, the adjustability of the mountain bike, rotor size. That's my bikes for years have been 160. My first real ride on my new bike with a 180. Yep. Over the bars.
Yeah.
Oh, that was fun.
Makes a big difference.
It does. Oh, no, it doesn't. It makes a 2 centimeter difference at the radius.
Yeah. Right. Which shouldn't be a lot, but it feels a lot.
It sure did. But okay. I got that dialed in. That was good. Everything's okay. And good fun.
One of the things, I've heard from other folks, and I've kind of got opinions about it myself, but would you say that today's bikes are easier to work on than, say, bikes from 10 or 20 years ago?
Yes and no. Sure. Yeah, yes and yes. No. The modern bikes are they're harder to work on. There's much more going on. Okay, this is interesting. God, how long have I been around? A long time. So something called a codded crank, and it's occurred in my lifetime. For a while, more Tour de France's were won on a codded crank than an aluminum crank.
Okay.
What does that mean? The Tour de France was going on so long, right? Yeah. That at some point it's going to tip. Well, now that's not true. Okay, more Tour de France's had been won on friction shifting than on index shifting.
Wow.
Is that true?
Sounds true. Yeah.
Yeah. Do the numbers. Do the numbers. That's not meaningful. So the older bikes, we had to do certain things. Threaded bottom brackets. Okay, so the bottom bracket tapping and facing was a big deal. Mechanics would argue. I mean, okay, you get to a bunch of mechanics, you get them in a bar. I hope they're drinking non-alcoholic beer, and then they're not. But that's a different story. What do they argue about? Well, tapping and facing. Oh, you got to face the bottom bracket, this and that, and it gets rid of the paint. Meaningless. Facing is not about paint; it's about the alignment. But that's okay. So another rabbit hole.
Right.
No one argues about that now. Now it's facing the disc mounts. So the problems that mechanics argue about change through the year.
Yeah.
But no, the modern bikes are harder in one aspect, and this is where cell phones do come in handy, are important, component compatibility, which is a really hard topic, by the way, on Park Tool Video. We haven't finished, that discussion, but we'll do a video. We'll talk about, we try and give broad topics to you to apply, and people have to understand education as that. We're not speaking to you individually, right?
Right.
That my frame is green. You worked on a red frame. What do you do on the green frame? In our indexing, we set rear adjustments. We picked a SRAM system on purpose. All right. We in SRAMs. That's not important. Visually, the two limit screws are right there in front of the camera. That's why we picked that. Yes. Yeah. We picked a gold chain because it pops. All right. So some of those, Hollywood is not real life, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Tom Cruise is not jumping off the train.
Yeah.
Jackie Chan does jump off the train.
Right.
Okay.
Well, clearly, your background, you mentioned studying economics and, considering going into teaching academically. Yes. I mean, this is sort of an academic approach. This is you go to college to learn how to learn, not necessarily, to learn to do your job.
Exactly. And there's the two videos are real important. Well, the third, the most important one I love the most, but we won't put that till later. one is the indexing one gets a lot of hits. How to index your derailleur.
Yeah, I think it's the number one. Your number one and number two are both derailleur videos.
But the second most important that people don't watch is how it works. And people will watch it and they'll be frustrated. They'll write a comment. I tried this and it's nothing's working. This is horrible. This is dumb. This is dumb video. Okay, create your own adventure. First, learn how. We're going back to the engineering, right?
Yeah.
Learn how something works, right? For Julia, learn how to saute the onion, right? How is it glistening? Is it brown?
Yeah. What are you doing, right? When you're sauteing an onion, what's happening?
What salt, fat, heat.
Mm-hmm.
When am I missing one more? There's
acid.
One of the cooking shows. Learn the basics. How does this linkage works?
Mm-hmm.
Right? What are these limit screws? What do they do? Okay, what is an indexing feature? Cable pull. Got it. Then you'll understand and think about, okay, how can I change these things? So understanding the system first,
mm-hmm.
right? Then understand how to fix it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So my new thing for next year. I want to try this with my mechanics that I'm going to be training on their own bikes. I want to get some thumb shifters for everybody and not take their shifter off, but I'm going to run a friction shifter to their derailleur, and we're just going to go on some rides, just some simple trail rides, and we're all going to shift with friction, right?
Yeah. To
learn the concept of how this works, how the linkage pulls it over, and the guide pulley shoves it over too far, back far. The onboard computer is going to have to take care of this. And then later, of course, they're going to teach and understand indexing. But if you first have that concept of, I know how that pushes back and forth, right?
Yeah.
My road bike, which I totally love, it makes me cry when I see it on the trainer, but it's going to get out. Springtime comes, it's going to get out. It's got down tube friction shifters, right? And one reason is on my road bike, it's all about memories, right? When I reach down and shift a gear, I am Sean Kelly in my mind, right?
Yeah.
That's what he did, right? I don't want to be these, all these, Woot Van Art. I don't want to be that. He pushes a button,
right,
and it shifts for him. No, I want to be Sean.
Yeah, right. I mean, yeah, it's easier now, and it's like the parts do a lot of the work for us, and we don't really understand exactly what they're doing.
Right. So backing up a little bit, one of the important aspects is component compatibility, and we can't do all of that on our little YouTube, right? We get criticized for, this is a 10-minute video. You expect me to give 10 minutes of my life.
Right.
Your life is so important.
Yeah. You should do one-on-one consults, VIP. Somebody pays you $200 an hour and you can.
Oh, don't even. Yeah. That's an interesting idea. I'll bring that one up to the company. Insert credit card here.
Yeah.
So everyone, remember, there's that settings button, and you can go to 2.0 speed.
Right.
And then, man, you're going to get that thing really fast, and it's going to go like this. and for some people, that's okay.
Yeah.
If that's what you need.
Yeah. Well, so you mentioned compatibility being something that hangs. I mean, a lot of us, even folks in the shop, I know that's a hang up where they spend a lot of time figuring out, will this work with that? And
absolutely.
Finding out what's out there. But do you think bike manufacturers are doing a good job considering maintenance and repair when they design a new product, or is that kind of an afterthought?
Okay, so what you're doing, you're throwing this big lasso out. I'm walking down the trail, and then here comes this. I'm going to step in this, aren't I?
Well, you don't have to name any manufacturer. Just, we're just talking generally here.
No, they're not. No one's trying to. It's one of the dumbest terms. I got ripped off, right? I bought the chain, got ripped off. You're not no one's sitting in the back room. Oh, here comes Fred. We're going to rip him off.
Right.
They have their margin to get the chain. And if they made a mistake and it's the wrong chain, that's one thing. But a manufacturer wants their stuff to work well.
Right.
Absolutely. And they have rights to change things and to have a different design. Shimano's really big on this. They want it to be a system. And I totally appreciate that. For them to say this is working like it should, they should say, yes, you should be using our chain. Yes, you should be using the sprockets.
Yeah.
And if you ever seen their frame builder's handbook, brilliant that they've taken the guts to do that. They want the hanger this angle and this distance and the tab on that hanger, specifications on all of that.
Yeah.
So yes, your frame has to be compatible as well. So, and dropout hangers, that's one of our next videos we're going to do on replacing the hanger. Well, the hardest thing on that, finding it, right?
Right. Oh yeah.
Finding the hanger. And that might be some criticism of the different companies. How many different hangers are there?
Yeah.
Right? Not enough, apparently. But
Yeah.
A company has a right to say, this design is good. You need to use this chain with this to have the results that we want you to have.
Yeah. Well, I mean, to put it in perspective too, I mean, if we look at the tech industry, right? I mean,
absolutely.
There's no way you could ever take apart your iPhone and do anything to it. I mean, if it's anything wrong with it, you got to take it in and have someone work on it. Whereas we still can work on our bikes at home.
Yeah, exactly what I was going to say. One of those famous quotes on some famous person, Genghis Khan or somebody, the bicycle is the last thing, the last simple piece of technology we can actually work on.
Yeah.
That's not the exact quote, but the idea was
But yeah, it's better than cars. I'm never going to learn how to work on a car, but I can figure out a bike.
Well, we used to say that, right? We used to say that. That's getting less and less true every year.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Carbon fiber frames, right? You're not doing alignment on a carbon fiber frame. The through axle, chain line's a good example. We used to play with spindle length to move the chain wings in and out. You're not doing that anymore. We could move the freewheel sprockets, and I do mean freewheel. We could move them left to right. You're not doing that anymore. Right? Yeah. It's another joke we make on the coaches. This is a coach's joke. We started out, this is expensive, right? You expect a parent, you got an excited family and they got a 14-year-old, want them to join the team. And what is this going to cost us? Well, you got to get a rideable bike and a helmet, right? Yes, the shorts help, blah, blah, blah. Our joke among coaches, well, we're not as bad as hockey. Well,
right.
We used to, it's less and less true every year.
Yeah.
Right? Just the way prices are going. So not that hockey, I'm poking at hockey. It's in Minnesota, we are the state of hockey. But
yeah, that's funny because I mean, I live in Georgia and my son is starting to get into hockey for whatever reason. And yeah, interesting.
Where in Georgia are you?
I'm in the Atlanta area.
Okay.
Yeah.
I got a son over in Athens. I got to get down there to see the Twilight.
Yeah, that's always a really fun.
The Twilight Criterium.
Yeah. Always super fun. So talking more about sort of the trends in bike products and repair, are hex bolts going away? Seems like Torx is taking over.
Sure. No, yeah. Hex bolts. Yeah. We used to sponsor one of the Pro Team's Discovery Pro Team, and really it was the head mechanic, their mechanics managers, Julian DeVries. He was Eddie Merckx's mechanic.
Oh, wow.
So he legendary guy. And I was talking to their mechanics, visiting their camp, and asked one of their better mechanics, Chris, said, what's your favorite puck tool? Which all of our tools, which one do you really like? Well, Calvin, all we ever really use is a 5mm wrench. Right? Super sophisticated Tour de France bikes. He was right.
Yeah.
5mm.
Which is nice. I mean, I love that. I love not having to carry a toolbox with me on the trail.
The 5 is still important. And mountain bike land, the 6 is still there, suspension bolts. And, gravel people, here's something for the gravel people. Let's push to get rid of the 6mm hex on the through axle bolts.
Yeah.
That's the only thing you use it for.
Yeah.
And you don't need that much torque. Let's make those a 5.
Yeah.
Right? But here's a brave company. He'll be a really brave / dumb company. Why don't you make a T30 fitting for your through axle bolts?
Yeah.
You want to get some hate?
Yeah, especially by me, because I won't know, and I'll put a hex in there and strip it out.
And be pissed off when you're standing on the road and you can't fix it.
Yeah,
but no, it absolutely is going. It's not going away, but you're going to see the Torx is coming on. But here's a company, and I'm not going to name the name, but they've got a system. They'll have the shifting system. There'll be some T25s, but in the same system, some hexes, right?
Yeah.
So so you're working on the lever. Oh, this one's a T25, but this other one is a hex.
Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah.
You made me pick up this wrench. Let's finish it off.
Right.
And then, oh, no, we're going to get out these other 2 wrenches. But it's the same shifting system in the same line.
Yeah.
Right. So let your viewers figure out who's doing that.
Well, it seems like we are in sort of a transition where you're seeing, a mix of the bolts, and you never know which one is going to show up on your new bike.
Yeah. Right. That's the truth.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the truth. But generally, it's been a truism. The bigger the wrench, the higher the torque. Mm-hmm. Right. The smaller the wrench, the lighter that it should be.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
So, but 3 millimeters is a good example. Like a T, we'll be close to that. Almost like a T20. Mm-hmm. Smaller than the T5, which is close to a 4 millimeter. Mm-hmm. So but those light fittings, you're seeing those starting to come, but still there's absolutely a mix, it's nothing simple.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
So I'm curious to know, what's your least favorite repair to make? Is there something that you'd rather pay somebody else to do, or something that you even just take it to your shop and let them do because you don't want to do it?
Least favorite. This is my least favorite. Boy, that's a really hard one.
You like them all.
Changing the oil in my car.
Well, that's like bleeding your brakes, which is not a popular thing.
It would be suspension rebuild, because I don't have at home anyway. I don't have all the tools. Even here at Park, they're so proprietary. Oh yeah, they're so proprietary. So getting a nice rebuild pick your brand, right? Cane Creek, Fox, Rock Shocks. The different fittings and the work inside there. Having a specialist is really, really good for that. Yeah. But it's all fun.
Yeah. Creaky bottom brackets. Yeah, that's a tricky one.
Yeah, well, creaky. Those can be a pain, and I don't know. I guess I'm insulted though. I don't like it when I get flat tires. I'm on a ride and I get a flat tire. And, hey, wait a minute. This is me.
Right. You got nobody else to blame.
Yeah. Doesn't this flat tire know who I am? You know what my reputation is? How can I get a flat tire? So, yeah, I know it was on a ride with our team, right? So I got a flat tire. Oh.
And then everybody's watching you, I'm sure, to see how fast he's going to do it.
Tire. So the coach, said, "What's going on?" "Well, got a flat tire, coach. Let me get this fixed." So, then if you can't get it stopped, you kept throwing, some more air in it every 5 miles, and then the sealant's, not doing its job, and then you got to throw an inner tube, right? Then you're in there with the mess, and ugh. So kids,
not a fun one.
Don't watch this. Go ride.
Right.
And no cursing. You're on the nope. Yeah. Team policy. Kids are here. No cursing.
Yeah, makes it tricky.
Yeah.
So we talked about the YouTube channel and some of the comments that you get, but clearly a lot of people get a ton of value out of it. I found when I was researching you ahead of this interview, there's a Calvin Jones Appreciation Society on Facebook. I don't know if you're familiar with that.
Oh God, embarrassing. Yes, yeah. I am.
And when I Googled your name too, it comes up with like suggested queries and things that people are asking. One of them was, who is the Park Tool guy? And I assume they're asking about you because you're in all the videos, like you're, pretty well known. But the answer was actually Eric Hawkins, right? Who's the owner and CEO. But
there's a cartoon character, Tool Man. We need to recycle that. So in the 80s, it's this cartoon figure, and Eric's actually pretty buff, right? Mm-hmm. So he's got, me, I'm a stick man, right? So almost 2 meters tall.
Yeah. Well, that's the other question. That's funny because the other question is, how tall is Calvin Jones?
Yeah. I'm shrinking. I was 2 meters when I was in high school, right? My wrestling weight, 130 pounds.
Wow.
Right? Yeah. Junior high.
Wow.
And you can imagine my career, right? So yeah, that was done. But Eric is he's pretty tall, but he lifts still. Mm-hmm. So anyway, the point is that the cartoon figure, he's got this bandolera of little tools on it, right? Butch haircut, and sunglasses, kind of what's that? Terminator kind of look, right? Yeah, Terminator. So that was Tool Man. So yeah, Eric Hawkins, President Pike Tool. So runs the show here. That's who Eric says, set up, stand up. Yep, yes, sir. What can we do?
Yeah. But really, you are the face of Park Tool to a lot of people because your videos have been viewed so many times. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. We're walking through airports and somebody will stop you, or you're getting a coffee and shake your head. You're that guy.
Yeah.
What guy?
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. I saw you. Or, I don't know.
Yeah.
I was in Austria crossing a street, right? And somebody stopped me, and it's just, I don't know, embarrassing. So.
Yeah. Well, anyway, what has the effect of the YouTube videos been? Especially on like the bike shops, right? Because what's great about your videos is
good point.
You're empowering all of us to figure our repairs out, do them at home, and what do the shops think?
It depends on their attitude. For a long time, and I still do worry, we're going to get pushback from shops. Yeah, you're teaching them to do all these things. They're going to just do this themselves because they're too cheap.
Yeah,
that's not really true. Mm-hmm. We get a lot of appreciation from a lot of shops showing their mechanics how to do it, making them better.
Yeah.
Here's a story from the guy who got me into the racing bike and really was a swim mate of mine. And, he would race bikes, and he got me to get my first kind of race bike. Years later, he busted a tooth trying to press a headset with his own handmade headset. And we were talking about tools and stuff. That's when he started to buy our stuff because he wanted the right tool because he didn't want to bust another tooth. But the point is that he made this point that, and the better shops will understand this, a lot of people, and for him, they're not trying to be cheap. They just want it done right.
Yeah.
Just want it done right. So the shops that are bitter about saying people are just trying to do this themselves, they should first look in a mirror and say, are you doing this right for the customer? Are they coming in?
Yeah.
And I'm not throwing the bike industry under the bus. It's too big for that. But if a shop needs to know that we are a value add, that this came in, this indexing is fixed, this creak is gone, and we did our job, right? And they do. There's absolutely good shops that care, right? And that will do that work for you and do it well. They're going to do well.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, most of us start out when we get a bike and we get into biking, we don't know anything, and so we do take our bikes to the shop. Our first idea is not, I'm going to fix this myself. It's, I'm going to take this to an expert. But like you said, a lot of times that experience is not good. And so we start saying, well, maybe I should just do this at home. It'll be quicker and easier and I'll get a better result.
Yeah. When a customer comes into a shop, they're bringing you a gift. Here is a precious gift. As a consumer, the reputation you have with me. And you want to give that, you want to return that bike respectful of that opportunity. So they think, yeah, I'm going to come here, which is the plug, the Park Tool School. If you're confident enough to talk about bikes and show people things, one of the comments I remember by a consumer that went through a shop there, they were bragging, oh, they loved it and this, and they loved the book and what you're so glad the shop did this. and he was wrapping it up, and I thought, oh, here comes, he's really going to like our tools. What he wants to do, he wants to buy his next bike there.
Yeah.
Well, I was kind of like, oh, I wanted you to buy your next chain tool there.
Yeah.
Well, but to him, this shop that he went and learned from, that put the school on, that they were the experts. So he wanted to buy his bike from that shop.
Yeah.
That's a big compliment.
Yeah.
But again, a shop has to be confident that they're able to get up and, put on a good show, and have people leaving feeling good about, what they've gotten out of it. So, and YouTube, you can be better, shops, so I can plug this still. You can be better because you had that interaction. Right. You had that interaction, the chance of that person's hard of hearing, right? Or a blind person, like my dad had macular degeneration, just staring at something wasn't gonna help it. Are there other ways you can teach? YouTube, we can't do that.
Yeah.
You pick a video with me in it and watch it 100 times. You know what you're going to get? 100 cookies, exactly the same.
Yeah.
You can ask a question in the comments, but it's not that immediate feedback. That's, so that in-person thing is huge,
Yeah.
So that's an important thing.
Yeah. I mean, and this gets back to something you said at the beginning of our conversation, which is that, for me personally, I feel like, I'm an okay mechanic. I can work on my own bike, but to work on somebody else's bike, that's a big difference. I mean, that's a lot of responsibility, and you can't just, mostly get it right, which is what I tend to do, right? like I can take the repair to 90%, and then I figure, well, if something goes wrong, then I'll deal with it. But you can't do that when it's not your bike.
Right. Yeah, on that attitude, to fix somebody else's bike, you have to be confident and you have to accept those responsibilities. That's different than fixing it yourself. There's a limit to what it drives me a bit crazy. It works for me, right? I hit it with a hammer. Yeah. It works for me. Well, that's true, but you're not digging deeper. I want my high school mechanics to dig deeper on an issue. So, okay, here's something that works for me. I want your audience to try this. Okay, about every 3 or 4 seconds, I contract my rib muscles, and then I relax them, and then I contract. What is that? Breathing. Yeah, it works for you.
Yeah.
So but what does that bring to the conversation when people say that? It brings nothing. Yeah. I mean, if you understand why something works, if you lubricate something, right, and something happened, then you should know, yes, these two things were rubbing, I lubricated them, that's what, so it works for me. It's almost as bad as it is what it is. Well, of course it is what it is, because if it wasn't, then it wouldn't be it.
Right.
So anyway, sorry.
Yeah. Well, so clearly you're someone who's not afraid to go down rabbit holes.
Right.
So I'm curious, are you interested in going down the rabbit hole of electronic components on bikes?
Sure.
Like in terms of the electronics beyond the mechanics, is that something you think that bike mechanics should start learning and getting familiar with? Oh,
you better. It used to be a joke, but now it's not. Bike comes in for repair, and even on e-bikes, how's the firmware? Did you get the new firmware? Is it updated? Yeah. Number one. And okay, here's an interesting example. Wout van Aert is a rider with Jumbo-Visma, just crushing it, as they say. Has switched from Shimano to SRAM, and has been talking about the differences. Shimano on their e-bike, or not their e-bike, their electronic shifting, they have a really clever system on the 2x, and I'm a definite 2x kind of guy versus the 1x. They can program it, and this is what can be done with software. Program it so it will pick the next easiest or harder gear for you. Right? Oh, yeah. Now, back in the old days, right, like the guys that always, let me tell you about the old days, we used to have to tell consumers, Well, you don't shift in order. If you want the next gear, you go here and here. Then you're going to shift the front chainring and go here. Can you remember all that?
Yeah.
No, because when you're going hard, the lactic acid gets in the brain, right? That's Dr. Jones's theory anyway. That's why you can't think. When you're putting out those hundreds of watts, it hurts, and you can't think. But with Shimano, they're thinking for you. And they've tried to do that for a long, long time. If you look back at the early Shimano, they're indexing features, something called positron. They're trying to reduce as much as the effort of shifting onto the engineers and take it away from the rider, right? But electronics is a classic example of that. On an indexing, a really nice mechanical system, a very important part that's not understood is the human element, right? So, and go back to cars, manual versus a stick shift. If you have a manual, two different people can get different performances out of it because of their timing with the clutch and the shift. But you can see people that ride are very, very hesitant on their shifting and very afraid to break something. It'll shift different than someone who just slams that gear.
Right.
But can the mechanic account for that? That's hard. A shop can set up something. It works nice. On a test ride, it works nice. Customer gets on it and complains. Their linkage in the metatarsal, in their finger, it ain't the same. The phalanges they're not doing the same muscle contraction as you.
Yeah.
But yeah, you go into a room and a buddy goes into a room, you turn the light switch on. They go in and turn the light switch on. Guess what? The lights come on.
Right.
That's electronic shifting.
Yeah.
So the Shimano would change the front ring if it needed it. And so you didn't have to think. You could just say, I want to go faster. I need to go easier.
Yeah.
So that's a fun thing. But yeah, and the software, there's so much potential. The electronic aspect has good potential for data collection. Going way back into the data, the heart rate monitors were interesting to watch come on in the 80s, how they got popular. And our riders on the pro team I was working for, the first ones, they loved them, but it became a video game. They would want to compare who got the highest heart rate on a workout. Dumb. That's not what they're for.
Right.
This isn't Pac-Man. Right. So it took a while. The Strava is really interesting. I also want to see tied in, and I don't know why they don't do this, how many miles on that chain?
Yeah.
What is the wattage average? Yep. So we put a new chain in, we should be able to have our cell phone and have a log. We're going to mark it. Refresh the chain. Bam. So you went out and here's my Stravas. These are the climbs. Oh, now you got 3,000, 4,000 K on that chain. And I'm checking the wear. It's the electronics isn't going to check the wear for you, but now it's wore out.
Yeah.
That's nice to know.
Right.
Right.
That's interesting. Yeah. It's the electronics are, in some ways it is a black box where mechanics, don't have a lot of control, but on the other end, you're finding these ways to use that data to inform you in terms of troubleshooting and maintenance and all that kind of thing.
Right. Well, back to the shifting. Imagine and this would be fun, and the road racing doesn't work in mountain biking yet. You're the team director, right? I'm following a break. There's 6 of my riders in a break, and I'm looking at the heart rate of my guy. I'm looking at the data. I'm looking at his wattage, and I'm telling him in the radio now.
Yeah.
Go now. And I've also had a guy, since my name is Bill Belichick, I have a guy who hacked into the other teams, and I see that guy is pinned on his heart rate. You flick him with your finger, he's going to fall over.
Yeah.
So that would be kind of fun. And better than that, I'm going to drop you. Don't worry about shifting. I'll take care of the shifting for you.
Yeah.
And I'm going to drop you down a bigger gear. That's your mark. So that kind of fun. That would be fun.
Yeah. So many possibilities. Very cool.
Yes. Yeah. But then the data collection another one that I really love, Truman and I both loved, is that the data collection on tire pressure.
Yeah.
The tire whiz is one of them.
Mm-hmm.
And God, if I was a team mechanic for a mountain bike team, I would not be carrying the digital gauges. Every morning, I would overinflate everybody's tire.
Mm-hmm.
It's your job to take your cell phone and to bleed down to what you want, right? So it's so interesting to watch the data. You can capture that, and then you can on the Garmin can, I don't know if Strava can, and then look back at your race and see. So the riders that have to say, I got to have 18.5 psi, got to have it.
Yeah.
Well, it's 10 o'clock in the morning and it's 60 degrees. At 12 o'clock and it's 70 degrees, you ain't got 18.5.
Yeah.
Oh, and by the way, you went up 500 feet in elevation.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have 18.5.
Yeah.
But that's fine. You empower the riders as much as possible.
Mm-hmm.
That's great. You can be as finicky. I'm not sitting there with a gauge, check it again,
Right.
check it again.
Yeah.
That's those. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's interesting that there is so much more to learn, right? I mean, bicycles have been around for a long time, and yet you just named off half a dozen things that, maybe we haven't really looked at that closely, or, haven't had the data beforehand to say, yeah, what do you do? How do you compensate for things like temperature and altitude during a race? Because it's different at the top of the hill than it is at the bottom, and all those things. Yeah.
Sure. The one thing about, they've got, the strain gauges are great. The pedal ones are interesting because you're able to tell the vector of the arm, not just the force, but where are you applying this famous thing? Oh, you got to pedal in circles. Nobody pedals in circles. Hello, you're bipedal, right? Mm-hmm. So if we could change that, I don't know, how do you build a bike for an octopus that some sort of aid system there, but you're going to have power phases, and they're not symmetrical. Your left leg and right leg aren't even applying pressure in exactly the same spot.
Right.
When you push down with your right leg, you're lifting up 20, 30 pounds of dead meat on the left side, right? So when you're pedaling in circles, what you're doing is you're helping lift your own dead weight. It's not that you're adding, your left leg isn't adding to the force of going forward. But that data, to know that, baseball has got huge data, right? So does F1 racing. All of it meaningful, right? So how many grounders were missed on natural grass, with the sun low?
Right. That's the only thing that makes baseball watchable is the statistics.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's thank you. I didn't say that, Crowd. He did. So, but the in the body though, okay, we have stress. The body is just an extension of the bike as far as I'm concerned. Some people consider it the other way. The bike should be an extension of you. No, that's not true. The center of the universe is the bike. So your linkage and your power, which is your bones, right, and your muscles, are firing, your ATP, and you're and pulling that lever down. You're a lever moving a lever, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
But what's interesting is the human cycle is the lactic acid. Like when you hit your VO2 max and you're beyond that, I want a chip somewhere that I can read that lactic acid.
Yeah.
That's what I really want to know.
Yeah.
Right. So,
and there's the glucose blood sugar meters now that people are able to use. I mean, previously only available for diabetics, and now athletes are using them. Yeah.
Some of the population does get this, but a lot of the so-called doping in which definitely people are out there trying to get around stuff and cheat. Yes, but there is not, that I know of, a secret cave of mad scientists, and we're going to produce this world revolutionary brew just for this one writer, right?
Yeah.
For Jeff, we're going to get Jeff on this one stuff, and you're going to be great. Almost all of this comes from the medical industry that helps people.
Mm-hmm.
There are people who need EPO to live.
Yeah.
Cancer, all sorts of different treatments that they're good things that can help people. The steroids that's a good thing.
Yeah.
Now there's smart people in those caves that can take that. Yes, that's what's going on. And the chip is an interesting thing.
Yeah.
Right? So how do you blend, in my cave, if people want to know what I'm researching in my secret cave, I want to change the human body. I want to start with a bigger patella.
Mm-hmm.
That is the linkage. What you're doing is your quads, your muscle group, and your glutes are leveraging the lower limb through the patella. That's the power stroke. If I can increase the mechanical advantage there, that is good. Now, the person may not be able to walk. That's
they'd be the ultimate cyclist.
That's too bad. We call that unintended consequences in the field. But if imagine being able to manipulate, the bicycle, we're kind of stuck with because humans are all the same, right? So if we could change those ratios, and look at our friends in the animal world, boy, there's some interesting things they can't do, right?
Yeah.
But there's some, in terms of speed and their power per their body mass, it's pretty impressive. The physiology and the kinetics of that whole thing.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Is that deep enough rabbit hole? Should we keep digging?
I think we're good there. That's very sci-fi, and but that's a great spot for us to wrap up. Really appreciate you taking the time, Calvin. Obviously, you're a treasure to the industry, and we're stoked to see what other videos and cool repair things you're going to come up with next. Well, thanks.
You want to drop us a line on any ideas? We always appreciate. We look at everything. What we should be doing. We're not. We're still working on the bike. What we started with, what we call first wave. It's we assume you owned your bike and it's put together.
Mm-hmm.
That's second wave is, okay, now you're going to start taking stuff off and replacing it,
right?
New, or building up a bare frame.
Mm-hmm.
So that's different. Like overhauling a caliper, one of the disc brake calipers, that's coming. So the first wave is simply how to adjust it. Second wave will be, digging in deeper, and then deeper. So any ideas, suggestions, what you want to see? Or
I mean, I'm not that good of a mechanic to say. I'm always amazed at the tools that Park comes out with every year, right? Like, you would think that we've got all the tools we need. We've got more than enough. I mean, if I owned every Park tool, I can't even imagine where you would store all of those. And yet, I know this year I just got the new, there's like a cable crimping tool. And it was like, I've always needed something like that though, right? I've always, for whatever reason, I put a thing on with some needle nose pliers and it always falls off. And I don't know what I'm doing wrong, but you guys figured it out and said, maybe people need a tool for that. And so, it's always cool.
Well, that's the fun thing. Adding new tools is fun. And then on the other side of the coin, dropping tools. We dropped our cotter pin press years ago, right? So that skill no longer needed. Yeah. But new stuff's coming out. The disc brakes are taking over.
Yeah.
We talked about the new word. Right. Disc brakes are. The mass department stores are doing disc brakes, but I have not seen a mass department store yet cross the line and have a hydraulic disc brake.
That sounds like a recipe for disaster.
Well, yeah, potentially. I'll leave that for your listeners. So thank you. This is hope there's something in there that's of interest to anybody, and just sitting in an office just talking to a screen.
Always a joy. And if you haven't seen the Park Tool YouTube channel, be sure to check it out. Lots of really useful videos on there, how-tos, and also the entertaining Tech Tuesdays.
Well, you didn't ask me my favorite one.
Your favorite video? Yeah. Which was your favorite video?
Yeah, favorite video. Okay. during the height of the pandemic, right? So what are we doing? Everyone's, stuck at home. So what, it's hard to get people together at work. So what we're going to do, it's called 55 minutes of a spinning wheel. And it's exactly as advertised. So Turing stand, it's actually Truman's wheel. It's a wide industry hub. He steps in and he spins that wheel and steps out. And it happened 4 times. We took turns. And it's simply a spinning wheel. Yeah. It was the absolute, I cannot watch it and not laugh.
Well, it's some good ASMR, right? That's on trend. People like these like sensory kind of videos. Yeah.
It is. And people would write, just taught me nothing. This is blah, 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 blah. Hey, you have where's your spirit? You don't have, you have no life in you. Where's your soul? You have no soul. But the people who got it, it was hysterical. One guy, he put, here are my favorite minutes. And it rocks back. That's the exciting part, when it rocks back and forth and almost stops. That's so exciting.
Yeah.
But it was a total answer for, well, we're all pretending, right? We're pretending it's over. Let's do that.
Yeah. Well, that's great. Yeah. Hopefully we have more cool videos like that to look forward to. And also, there's always parktool.com. That's all we've got this week. We'll talk to you again next week.